Hi, I'm Melanie from Parenting High Schoolers, and today I'm here to talk to you about cost of attendance. What is cost of attendance? Well, if you break down all of the costs of your child going to college, that's the cost of attendance. It's not just tuition, it's not just housing, it's all of it. So when you are working on a budget for either applying to colleges or actually getting accepted and thinking about going to a college, you guys need to sit down and figure out the true cost of attendance because it is a much bigger number than just the tuition. So, cost of attendance can include many things. One, tuition. How much will each class cost? And that might include lab fees. So, if your child is majoring in something that's more science based, there may be some lab fees that aren't actually even shown when it breaks down costs of classes. So be sure that if you have a scientist on your hands, that you guys look into that. It can include housing. Housing can look a lot of different ways. Your child might want to live in a dorm, and each dorm can even cost a different amount. There are different tiers of housing. Like the oldest might be the least expensive. The new fancy, you have your own room, it's in a suite situation, is going to cost a lot more. Your student may want to live in an apartment. So what you probably need to do is find out from the school, like typically what will your child be doing. So I know when I went to college, you lived mostly. I mean, there were some exceptions, but we lived in dorms. At least the girls did. Your freshman and sophomore year, and then you moved off campus. So it may be different at that school now. I mean, probably is. It was a long time ago, but the cost of housing can vary. So you want to figure that into what you are planning on that 4-year cost to be. Find out what the average apartment is, or will it be cheaper to rent a house with a bunch of friends? Is your student local? Should they live in your basement for a semester or a year to save on housing? All of those things need to be thought about. And also, if they're going to be in an apartment, then will there need to be furniture and all of that? Meal plans. So if they're in a dorm, you can get different levels of meal plans. You can get 1 meal a day. You can get 10 meals a week. You can get the full meal plan. You can get a punch card. So that also needs to be discussed with your child. What are they thinking, and what are you able to afford? Transportation. If they are local, they may not need a car. Our son went to a small liberal arts college that wasn't that far away, and we were able to get him there, and then everything he needed was within walking distance, including a job in the local town. So that was a savings for us. When you think about your child going to school, you need to think about parking. Will there be a fee? In most cases, the answer is yes. And sometimes it's a super hefty fee per semester. Really hefty. And the ticketing. So if your child is one that isn't super responsible about, paying attention to where they're parking and all of that, that is a serious conversation that needs to be had, because the fines that are accrued by kids that park in the wrong spots, it can be a lot. We know this from a little bit of experience. Fees. So I've talked about parking fees. I've talked about lab fees. There are all kinds of fees. I know a lot of people are surprised, like, I didn't know there were so many fees. Okay, well, I get that, but you need to check with the school ahead of time and just ask, what is your fee structure? What types of things? What are the categories of fees? And each year, how will that change? There will be possibly a fee for athletics. So if they want to go to, even if they don't want to go to games, that may be a fee. Their tickets at a lot of schools for athletic events are included in their tuition, but in a lot of schools, they're not. And so find out if your kid thinks they're going to go to all the football games or all the basketball or all, find out because it can be super expensive. I know it was for our middle son that went to the local state university, and it was hugely expensive. Greek life. Will they be pledging a sorority or fraternity? I did this as a teenager and had a great experience. I know a lot of kids do. It is super fun and it's a great way to meet people. My oldest son did this and had a great experience. But again, those are fees. Even if they're not living in the house, and in many schools, the pledge classes have gotten so huge that they may not ever live in the house. So you need to have your student do a little research and find out, is this something they want to do? And if so, how does that look and what will it cost? It is not cheap. Books. There will be a cost for books. A lot of them are online. A lot of them, let's say they get into a sorority or fraternity, there might be a library there where they can borrow from. My sons and I sit down before each semester and they pull up the local, the college website, and I get on Amazon. And in almost every case, A, it's cheaper to rent, and B, in most cases, Amazon is cheaper. But if you, for instance, my son that went to a small local liberal arts college, there were on occasion books that it was cheaper to either rent or purchase from that school's bookstore. So look at all of your options, and there are many other sites besides Amazon for finding college textbooks. I'm just saying Amazon is really easy. Fun money. So how much money is your child going to have to spend on a day-to-day basis? We allowed a budget of $3,000 for each school year. And they, our sons, were responsible for having that themselves. They worked every summer starting when they were 15. And that money, for the most part, went towards what was going to be their spending money in college. We had worked out a deal with the boys. They knew how much we were going to spend for their tuition and housing. And but there was a set limit. And if they went over that, they would have had to take in student loans out. Thankfully, we have not had to do that yet. I've got one out of college, and we have one that's just finishing up his associates. So far, so good. But fun money is definitely a category that needs to be discussed. They need to talk to some of their friends and find out what is a reasonable amount. They may go to a small college and there's really not a lot to do, and $3,000 may be way too much. But in most cases, I would say that's probably a minimum. And so who's going to foot the bill for that? Will your kid pay half and you, or, we felt like our kids needed some skin in the game because I didn't want them just spending money just to spend it. So we had talked carefully with each of the boys and they knew what the budget was going to be. And then that leads me to the final one that I've sort of already alluded to, is who's going to pay for what? Have you got money saved for college for your children? We had some set aside for each child, but not enough because we had to pay off my husband's student loans, which we did a while back. And so we had been able to save quite a bit, but it was not enough. So our kids had to meet us in the middle if they were going to go without getting into any kind of debt. So it was up to them to get good grades and to get into those tiered packages of scholarships, merit-based scholarships for the schools. They applied for scholarships. They got their Boy Scout Eagles because some schools recognize that. And if nothing else, it looks good on their resume and it travels with them for life. All of those things being said, you owe it to your child to sit down and talk about what budget do you have per semester or per year for each child. So, to summarize, cost of attendance is so many things. It is tuition, it is housing, it is transportation, fees, Greek, it's books, it's fund money, and the final thought is who is paying? Is it a split cost between you and your child? Is it all on your child? Is it all on you? That is a conversation, well, those are many conversations that you and your team need to have, really starting from a young age if possible, as in maybe even middle school. So don't get to the senior year and have your child apply to college and then be shocked by the cost of attendance. Do your research. Have your child do their research before they even start applying to schools. As they're applying to schools, find out all of those costs for each place and do a cost comparison. I hope this helped you today. Cost of attendance is so important, and I feel like a lot of times everyone is shocked by the sticker price when kids start applying to college. And know this as well. The sticker price is just that. We were told by a counselor at a school that is a starting price. Just like when you buy a car, you can bring them down, or a house, anything. Same with college. This is something we did not know. So tell them to sharpen their pencils, put together a great resume, do your research, and good luck. I hope that your child finds the perfect college for them. Give me a thumbs up, and I hope you subscribe to my channel.